Hi everyone, thanks again for tuning in. My name is Kelly. I am a faith-filled mum of two beautiful children. I am married, I am a registered nurse and a Bible school graduate. I am going to talk to you today about whether you are feeding your fear or you're feeding your faith. And so recently I was chatting with a friend about this horrible coronavirus that's going on in the world today, and she had mentioned about there being young children that had passed away from this virus in some other countries. And when she said that to me, I sort of had this split moment where I almost allowed a bit of fear to get in, because I'm due to go back to work soon. I almost finished my maternity leave with Joseph, and so I head back to work next month as a registered nurse, and it just so happens to be that the ward that I work on has been converted into the coronavirus ward in the hospital that I'm in, and it's one of the main hospitals for my city. And so I had a moment where I thought, should I not go back to work? Should I wait, try and expand my leave a bit more? But as soon as I had these thoughts into my mind, God came in over those thoughts and said to me, are you going to feed this fear or are you going to feed your faith? And it kind of took me a step back, and I thought, oh yeah, you just put me in my place, God, that's true. I know what I've been taught and I know what the Word of God says. And I felt that I wanted to speak to you guys about this same thing today. I think it's a great reminder, and sometimes it's good to stop and take some inventory of our lives and whether we are feeding faith or fear right now. And this doesn't just apply to the coronavirus, this applies to every situation that we face in life. We can either face it with fear or face it with faith. And so how do we feed faith and fear? Well, let's start with fear. To feed fear, basically, it's just having it constantly in front of your eyes, coming into your ears. It's watching the news every day, talking about it every day, constantly thinking about it. You just meditate on it. You begin to, obviously, I know there are isolation rules at the moment, but you begin to isolate yourself from situations. It just becomes so overwhelming. You become enveloped and it's all you think about. That's how you feed it, and the more you think about it, the worse it gets. Have you ever had a situation where it's just like the more and more you think about it, it just becomes so big and almost blown out of proportion at times because you spend so much time meditating on it? And that's what happens with fear. Well, faith also works the same way as being fed. So Romans 10 tells us that faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the Word of God. So what do? Well, we listen to the Word of God. We spend time in prayer. We read our Bible. We worship God. We spend time watching good preaching, talking to our friends, fellowshipping with them about the Lord, speaking the Word of God over our situation. That's how we build and feed our faith. And so, I know some people are like, well, I pray all the time, I like to watch the news, can't I do both? Well, Matthew 6 says that you can't serve two masters. Either you will love one and hate the other. You can't serve two, because you will always pick a side. And the same goes with faith and fear. You can't have faith and fear, because one of them will dominate, and more often than not it's going to be fear, because it's the easier one to fall into. It's easy to fear something. It's easy just to let your mind and your body take over and walk in that fear, than to let your spirit rise up in faith. And so, no, you can't do both. I'm not saying you can't watch the news or you can't talk about things, but we need to spend the most of our time, 96% of our time, feeding our faith, and then the other time you can watch the news or read, the newspaper or whatever. It's not like you can't do it. But if you're finding you're constantly feeding your fear, then you need to take a step back and stop doing that, because it's just going to make it worse. Instead, we need to spend time feeding our faith. And so I actually want to give you one little example that I read just recently, and I thought it was really cool, so I'll just share it with you. There was a school over in the States, and they had two trees, or plants, sorry, should I say, that they'd put in their hall somewhere that there's a lot of foot traffic with students. And so it was a controlled study, so they were the same plants, put at the same time, placed in the same place side by side. And below one plant, it says to speak positive words to me. So tell the plant that it's pretty, it's beautiful, you're such a lovely plant, all these nice things. And below the other plant, it said to speak negative words to it. And so the students would, go on past and say, you're ugly, you're a horrible plant, all that kind of stuff. Well, I think they did it for about a year, I think it was. And by the time it had ended, the plant that had been receiving the positive things had almost tripled the size of that was receiving the negative. And they were both receiving the same amount of water, same time of the day, same position, everything. But the one, and this is a plant, this is not even a person, this is a plant that's being spoken negatively to all the time, wasn't able to grow. And so when we constantly have negative words coming at us, whether it be via the news, social media, friends, family, whatever it is, when we have it constantly coming at us, it's very hard for us to grow in the things of God and grow and walk out God's plan for our life. But when we have positive things coming in, the word of God, worship, preaching, we can grow a lot stronger, just like those plants did. And so I hope this has helped you today. I hope you can take a step back and have a look at your life and think, am I feeding faith or fear? If you're feeding fear, that's all right. You can just stop and change. You can start spending time in the Word and turn the TV off, turn the radio off, and spend time reading what God says about your situation, whatever it is. It's not just this virus, it's any situation. It's poverty, it's job loss, it's sickness, whatever it is. If you're facing a situation in your life, let's attack it with faith and not fear, because we are overcomers according to the word of God. So I hope you guys are having a great day. I will keep posting videos. Please subscribe below, hit the bell icon so you'll get a notification every time I post a message, and I hope to be able to post some more now that we have a bit of free time and everyone's a bit more available to watch them.